Jai. So welcome everyone to our first ever Vrindavan pre-yatra classes, first class. We're going to talk today about the little known, actually, history of Vrindavan. Because when we think of Vrindavan, we think, oh, the history is that, Krishna appeared there and he had his childhood pastimes there with the cowherd boys and Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and the gopis and all these things. So usually we think of the history of Vrindavan as basically the history of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. But I want to approach the history of Vrindavan from a slightly different angle, and that is how sort of like the phases that Vrindavan has gone through over history since Krishna's departure. And I think this is very interesting, and it helps us to have a context of the holy dham and how it manifests and unmanifests and it is revived, and the relationship between the dham and the pure devotees who live there and who establish the dham. So so we know that Vrindavan Dham, or most of us now you'll know that Vrindavan Dham is not, it's not a part of this world in one sense, because when Krishna descends from the spiritual world to make his appearance here, he brings his own homeland with him. He comes with his associates, and he comes with his place, he brings his backyard with him because that's where he likes to be. So Vrindavan Dham in this material world is a replica of Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna's pastimes are going on eternally. And so soon after his birth, he's born in Vrindavan also, and he's born in Mathura simultaneously, and then Vasudeva brings him over, and then but he also takes birth to Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. And in one sense, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, even though when we read in Krishna book that Krishna he leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura, he goes to Dwarka. He's apparently out of Vrindavan for a long time, but he actually stays in Vrindavan in an unmanifested form. It's called his Aprakat Leela, or unmanifested Leela. And during that time, the Vrajbasis lived in separation. So, we hear a lot of descriptions about how the Vrajbasis, especially the gopis, especially Radharani, were missing Krishna so much, feeling so much pain of separation while Krishna was having his Mathura and Dwarka Leelas. But then after Krishna killed all the demons, the last demon that he killed was Dantavakra in Mathura, then he actually went back to Vrindavan, and he re-manifested his pastimes there with all of his associates. And it's described like this in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries on the 10th canto, that that Krishna, when he left this world, he took all the Brajbasis with him. So they all got into a big giant, flower spiritual airplane and just ascended back to Goloka Vrindavan, where they came from, because Krishna was leaving. He brought them with him, and he brought them back with him. So at that time, Vrindavan just, overnight, it became kind of like a ghost town. The Brajavasis were gone. They'd all gone back to Godhead. They'd all gone back to the spiritual world with Krishna. So there was not a lot happening. The only thing that Krishna left behind was, there were 3 things that he left behind. Does anybody know what those 3 things are?
The dust.
Yeah. That's one. Anyone else?
The Yamuna.
The Yamuna, and you don't know Brihat?
No.
Govardhan Hill.
Oh, exactly.
So yeah, he left Govardhan, the Yamuna, and the dust of Vrindavan. And as Kali Yuga progresses, even those are dwindling. We see that Govardhan is getting sinking into the ground by 1 mustard seed of size every day. The Yamuna also has become it's not pure Yamuna water anymore, but it's mixed with so much drainage and, you know, pollutants and things that you can't drink the Yamuna water anymore. And then even the dust, in many places it's paved over, it's covered with asphalt, it's built on, they've, you know, yeah, it's not so easy to access anymore. So these things are becoming more and more inaccessible, actually, as Kali Yuga goes on. But by divine arrangement, even though Krishna arranged the annihilation of his dynasty, all the Yadu dynasty, so just before Krishna left, he arranged that all of his sons and grandsons and great-grandsons, he had a humongous family, that they would all go to a place called Prabhas and basically kill each other, which is what they did. But there was one, a great-grandson of Krishna, who survived somehow by Krishna's divine arrangement. He was not there, or he escaped the carnage. And his name was Vajranabha. So this grandson, Vajranabha, he was very, he was just crazy about Krishna. You know, he was like, of course, Krishna's amazing, and all Krishna's family members loved him. Vajranabha especially, he really had so much appreciation for his great-grandfather Krishna. And after Krishna left the planet, he could see that everything was like, oh my God, not only is Krishna gone, the whole Yadu dynasty is gone, all the Brajavasis are gone. Practically everybody who was intimately connected with Krishna was gone as soon as Krishna was gone. So he could foresee that Krishna's legacy, Krishna, you know, everything about Krishna was going to become unknown to people on this planet. So he basically went on a mission to preserve Krishna, the legacy of Krishna in this world. And so he went to Vrindavan, and he located the places of Krishna's pastimes. He built a lot of monuments and temples. He had deities of Krishna made that looked very much like Krishna, and installed them. In fact, the three principal deities, Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan, they were made by Vajranabha, or they were, you know, commissioned to be made by sculptors. And Vajranabha was the one who gave the whole description, like, this is what Krishna looks like. He's my great-grandfather. I saw him. This is what he looks like. So he had those deities made, and he also built, you know, beautiful temples with fine marble and valuable jewels, and the deities were installed in those temples. So that was a long, long time ago, not too long after, maybe, you know, within a few hundreds of years after Krishna's departure. But then over time, because there was so much opulence in Vrindavan at that time, with these, you know, amazing temples full of jewels, that foreign rulers that came into India, they basically attacked Vrindavan, and they looted the temples, they desecrated the temples. And at that time, a lot of the deities became hidden. Either, I'm not sure how they were hidden, if the pujaris took them and put them in hiding places, or the deities just kind of like by their own mystic divine potencies hid themselves in different ways. But there was a long period of time where Vrindavan again was, the holy places were lost, the temples were destroyed, the deities had disappeared, nobody knew where they were, and it kind of fell into a state of sort of gloominess, I guess, or, you know, it faded away in its faded glory, I guess you could say. And so that was the case until, and not only Vrindavan, but just Vaishnavism, like Krishna, devotees of Krishna became an endangered species. I'm just laughing because in Kali Country was book, ISKCON Ashramites in the West, endangered species. So we see that it's kind of like a thing that happens, is that there are changes, historical changes, things that happen, social changes, and then something that was like booming and thriving becomes all of a sudden an endangered species. So that's what happened with devotees of Krishna, is that there were very few devotees of Krishna on the planet. And then Madhavendra Puri came. So Madhavendra Puri he's in our disciplic succession. and he's very special in our disciplic succession because he played such an important role in reviving Vrindavan. And he came before Lord Chaitanya. He's actually the grandfather guru, the Param Guru of Lord Chaitanya. And he was probably the first actually to establish the worship of Radha and Krishna, because Vajranabha, he was, from a Dwarkavasi. He wasn't so familiar with Krishna's relationship with Srimati Radharani. He might have known something, but he made only Krishna deities. He didn't make any Radha deities. So Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, and others, it was only Krishna that was there in the altar, and everyone was worshiping Krishna. And there was no Radha. So when Madhavendra Puri, he was a sannyasi, and he was traveling around India. And he ended up in Vrindavan, and he was just wandering there. And when he came to Govardhan Hill, he felt really overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna at Govardhan Hill. So he stopped there for some time, and he sat down and he thought, I'll just take some rest here in this beautiful place by Govardhan Hill and chant a little bit and do my bhajan. So he sat at the bank of Govinda Kund, and we'll see that when we go there. We can go to the place of Madhavendra Puri, his bhajan kutir on the bank of Govinda Kund near Govardhan. And he sat there doing his prayers. And then one beautiful boy came, one village boy came with a pot of milk. And he said, "Oh, Baba, I see that you're new here to the village and you're fasting, but in this village, no one fasts. Please take this milk. My mother sent me with the pot of milk. You please drink it." So he accepted the milk and he took it, and the boy disappeared. So then, Madhavendra Puri, that night, he had a dream in which that same boy came to him. And in the dream, he took him to a place that was like a jungle, and he showed him a particular bush. And the boy said that, "I reside in this bush, and I've been suffering for hundreds of years here due to the rain and wind and heat and cold, the elements. Please," and he understood at that point when he appeared in the dream that we can see it, that he was Krishna, that it was his Lord Krishna. It wasn't just a village boy. It was like the Lord himself, Gopal. And he said, "Please find me in this bush and take me out of here and build me a temple and bathe me with a lot of cool water and bring sandalwood from Puri and spread it on me because I'm so hot after the summer here in this bush." So Madhavendra Puri did that. And that Gopal deity, he built a temple. That temple is on top of Govardhan Hill. So we can't actually go and see that deity, although the deity is there, because we can't walk on Govardhan Hill. But the Gopal deity is there. So, and there's stories with that. So that was Madhavendra Puri. He rediscovered the first deity that was an ancient deity, and he built a temple and reestablished the worship of Gopal in Vrindavan on Govardhan Hill. So then after that, Advaita Acharya was the next person. Advaita Acharya, he was actually a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and so following in the footsteps of his guru, he went on pilgrimage also. And he eventually came to Vrindavan. And he went to Vrindavan to wait for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, because Advaita Acharya, he was like he could be Lord Chaitanya's father. So he was just waiting. He knew that Lord Chaitanya was coming, and he was waiting for his appearance. So he decided, I'll just wait in Vrindavan. Good place to wait. So he went there, and he was living like a Babaji also. He was just living under a banyan tree and in a place called Advaita Vat. Yeah, so he was not exactly that's a different scene. That's on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvip, worshiping in Shaligram Shila. But in Vrindavan, he was meditating and praying and doing his prayers and chanting japa under this banyan tree. And he discovered, how did this happen? Let me remember. Oh yeah, he was just wandering in that area, and he had a desire to worship Krishna in Vrindavan. And then one day he was wandering through a forest nearby, and he just happened to kind of stumble across this deity that was just lying in the forest, like just lying on the ground there. And that was Madan Mohan. That was the Madan Mohan deity. So then he was worshiping that Madan Mohan deity underneath that tree, just where he was staying. He just kind of like put the deity there because he didn't have a residence. He was a wandering mendicant. And then when he found out that Lord Chaitanya had appeared in Navadvip, then he went straight to Navadvip, but he left the Madan Mohan deity in the care of a Brahmin in Mathura. So this Brahmin, his name was Chobe. And Chobe, he was a grihasta, so he had, his kids. And later, when Sanatan Goswami came to Vrindavan, he was also like a mendicant, and he was living by begging. And he happened to go to that house of the Brahmin named Chobe, and he saw that the kids, he just went there to beg some food, and the Brahmin said, please come in. And then he saw that his children were just playing with this deity, like as if he was like a toy. And Sanatan was like, what is going on here? This is a deity of Krishna. This is the form of the Lord. They can't just, play with him like a toy like that. So he chastised the Brahmin. He said, you need to actually worship the deity according to rules and regulations. And then, so they had a discussion about that, and, Sanatan Goswami got some food to eat, and he went home. So that night, Sanatan Goswami had a dream in which Madan Mohan, the deity, appeared to him and said, and it wasn't that night, it was some time later. Sanatan Goswami had the dream. Madan Mohan said, Sanatan, since you told the Chobe that he needs to worship me according to rules and regulations, I'm not so happy anymore. I liked playing with the kids. I don't like all these rituals and rules and formalities. So he was kind of like, humbling Sanatan Goswami a little bit. And then at the same night that Chobe, the Brahmin, had a dream in which Madan Mohan appeared to him and said, my dear Brahmin, I'm very grateful to you for welcoming me and taking me as part of your family, a member of your family. You've treated me just like one of your children, and I love all your children, and I love you. But you have so many children. Sanatan doesn't have any children. Why don't you give me to Sanatan? So in this way, he arranged that he would be worshipped properly by Sanatan. So Sanatan, he went there, and Sanatan went and apologized to the Brahmin because of the dream he had, not knowing that Brahmin had also had a dream. He went there apologizing. I'm so sorry that I chastised you. Go ahead and worship the deity however you see is fit. And the Chobe Brahmin said, actually, no, I decided that I want to give the deity to you. He wants to be worshipped by you. So neither disclosed the dream. They just had that very sweet interaction by the grace of Madan Mohan. And Madan Mohan, Sanatan Goswami said, okay, I'll accept you. I'll accept the deity on one condition. That is that he is satisfied with just eating dry chapatis every day with no ghee, no salt, just whatever flour I can beg mixed with water and cooked over the fire. So Madan Mohan agreed. But later, of course, it's a long story. I won't tell the whole story, but later he complained. He wanted some salt. And then Sanatan was like, forget it. This was the condition, first you want salt, and you're going to want ghee, then you're going to want sabji, then you're going to want dal, then you're going to want a whole 6 offerings a day. I can't do that. I have things to do. So, but it so happened that nearby in the Yamuna, one salt merchant with his boat loaded with salt, he was going to South India to sell it, navigating on the Yamuna, and he got stuck because the level of the river was low, and he was wondering what to do. He couldn't get his boat unstuck. And then when village boy came, it was actually Madan Mohan disguised as a village boy. So be careful when village boys come talk to you in India. You never know who it is. In Vrindavan. So this village boy came, and he said, oh, Sanatan Goswami is very intelligent. He'll know how to get your boat unstuck. He's a genius. He'll figure something out. So this salt merchant went to Sanatan, and Sanatan said, the only thing I can suggest is that you worship Madan Mohan. Anyways, he's the Lord. So together they worshipped Madan Mohan, And then there was a huge storm, heavy rain. The Yamuna swelled up with water, and the boat was unstuck. And the salt merchant could understand that it was all due to Sanatana Goswami's transcendental potencies. And so he gave him a big block of salt. And after that, Madan Mohan got salt on his chapatis. And then later, when that salt merchant had sold all of his salt and come back with a big profit, then he met Sanatana Goswami and said, all this money is just by your grace, because you freed my boat. I want to give you a big donation so that you can build a beautiful temple for Madan Mohan. And that's the temple of Madan Mohan that's still there today, that we'll see. It's very prominent on the Vrindavan landscape. So that's the story of Madan Mohan that was rediscovered by Advaita Acharya. So these are the ancient deities that were established by Vajranabha, Krishna's grandson. Then later, Lord Chaitanya sent, actually before that, Lord Chaitanya sent one devotee who was very dear to him named Lokanath Goswami. He sent Lokanath Goswami. He was actually the first person that Lord Chaitanya sent to Vrindavan. And Lokanath Goswami was very unhappy about this, because he was very close to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was there in Navadvip. He didn't want to leave Lord Chaitanya. He was crying. He was literally, he had the order, and he knew that, this is the Lord's order, I have to do it. But he was crying and crying just at the thought of separation from Lord Chaitanya. So one day his best friend, Bhugarba Goswami, saw him in that state, just like lamenting, what am I going to do? I have to leave the Lord. And Bhugarba Goswami was very kind, and he said, all right, I'll go together with you. I'll be there for you. And at least you won't have the Lord's association, but at least you'll have my association, and we'll do this together. So they went, and when they got there, Vrindavan was just basically like a forest. There was nothing there. It was all overgrown, and a lot of the pastime places were lost. There was Govardhan Hill was there, the Gopal temple was there. Madan Mohan wasn't yet established, because that was Sanatana Goswami, that happened later. There was nothing. So Bhugarba, the name Bhu means the earth, and Garba means it can mean the womb, and it can also mean like a cave or a hidden place, like a place that you go in and it's unseen by anyone. So what Bhugarba Goswami did was that he dug this underground cave, and he just went in, he entered this underground cave, and he stayed there absorbed in meditation and prayer for a long period of time. And his prayer was praying to the Lord to reveal the locations of his pastime sites, the sites of his transcendental pastimes. And so when he came out, then he, together with Lokanath Goswami, they were just wandering around Vrindavan, chanting and praying and meditating on the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, and calling out the names of the holy places, like Talavan, where are you? Keshigat, where are you? Gokul, where are you? Bandiravan, where are you? And by the mercy of the Dham and Lord Chaitanya and the desire of the Lord, then gradually the locations of those places were revealed to them. So they were like, those two were so important in reestablishing Vrindavan. They were the two singular most important devotees in putting Vrindavan Dham back on the map. And yet they were so humble that they didn't want to be recognized for their accomplishments. They when Krishnadas Kaviraj was writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he went to Lokanath Goswami because he was like the elder Vrindavan Goswami. He is elder to any of the Six Goswamis. He's the guru of Narottam Das Thakur. But he didn't want to take it. There's a whole story that he didn't want to take disciples. Narottam basically like forced him to be his guru. And, he just lived. He didn't have any fixed residence. He just wandered and slept under a tree. And he had deities. There's an interesting story how he got his deities. But anyways, because he didn't have a temple, he just wore his deities in like a cloth bag around his neck. And when, Krishnadas Kaviraj went to ask his blessings to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Lokanath Goswami said, yes, you have my blessings on the condition that you don't mention my name anywhere in your book. So that's why although Lord Chaitanya had so many, Lokanath Goswami was so intimate, like very close with Lord Chaitanya, and he was so important in establishing in Vrindavan, and yet, it was very painful. It was actually so painful to Krishnadas Kaviraj when he said that, but he had to agree. So we don't hear anything. We don't have account of Lokanath Goswami, and also Bhugarba Goswami was the same. He was there and he's just like, yeah, don't put my name in there either. So yeah, so we it's hard to get information about them. But anyways, thanks to them, we know where all the places are. And then so after that, soon after that, Lord Chaitanya sent Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis to Vrindavan. And when they went there, they went straight to Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarba Goswami, and they heard from them they learned from them where the places were. They got oriented like that. And they were also living like mendicants there and begging and chanting and studying. And it was during that time that Sanatan Goswami discovered the Madan Mohan deity there with that Chobe Brahmin, and built the temple for him. And then the Govinda Dev deity, the third principal deity, that was established by Vajranabha and was lost. So Rupa Goswami discovered that deity. And how that happened was that he had heard of the deity somehow. He had heard that there was this beautiful Govinda Dev deity from ancient times. And so one day Rupa Goswami was sitting under a tree on the bank of the Yamuna, and he was crying with an intense desire to see this deity, to have darshan of this deity, to find the deity. And then there was a boy who was doing parikram, who was doing sort of Vrindavan parikram, and he came there by the bank of the Yamuna, and he saw Rupa Goswami crying, and he stopped and he said, what's wrong? What's going on? And Rupa Goswami said, well, I have this ardent desire, this transcendental desire to have darshan of Govinda Dev, the deity. And so this boy, he said, come here, I want to show you something. So he took Rupa Goswami to this small hill that was nearby, and he said, every day there's a cow. There's this very special cow that comes to the top of this hill at the same time every day, just before noon, and she pours milk from her udder. It just starts spontaneously flowing from her milk bags onto this hill, right in this exact spot, every single day at the same time. And the boy said that if you dig here, I think that your desire will be fulfilled. So Rupa Goswami was like, wow, this is very magical. And he called some local Brajavasis over to bring their tools, and they started digging up excavating very carefully, digging that hill, and they dug up the Govinda Dev deity that was right there. And so then Rupa Goswami, he built the beautiful 7-story temple. He built the biggest temple, the 7-story temple out of sandstone, right in the heart of Vrindavan for Govinda Dev. So yeah, like I was saying, all these deities, they were just Krishna without Radharani. But of course, the whole Vrindavan Leela is Radha and Krishna, so there has to be Radha. And so there was this, in Jagannath Puri at that time, or little later, there was a deity that everyone was worshipping as Lakshmi Devi. And so one day she appeared in a dream of the king of Puri at the time, was the father of Maharaj Prataparudra that we read about in the CC. So this Lakshmi deity, she appears to Maharaj Prataparudra's father, and she says, I'm not Lakshmi, I'm actually Radharani, the beloved of Govinda, and I want to be reunited with my Govinda Dev, and I've just been sitting here waiting for him to manifest in Vrindavan, and I know that he has manifested there, and he's sitting there in the beautiful temple built by Rupa Goswami, and he's just waiting for me. So please bring me there. So the king, he was like, oh my God, we have to take this Radha, who we thought was Lakshmi, over to Vrindavan. And so who brought her there, who brought Radharani there? This was a little later, actually. It took a while for them to organize this, because you can imagine the local politics and pujaris like, wait a minute, you can't just take the deity. And who says that she's Radha? And of course he was the king, so he had some authority. But who took Radharani there was Nityananda, Lord Nityananda's wife, Janava Devi. That was after the departure of Lord Nityananda. And not only did she bring Govinda Dev's Radha, but she brought several other Radha deities. In fact, she brought Radharanis for all the Krishna deities that were had been installed in Vrindavan at the time. So that's why when you go to Vrindavan, you sometimes see that the Radha and Krishna deities, they look a little mismatched. You know, like even here, like Govinda Dev's quite substantially bigger than Radharani, and looks, yeah. But so some of the deities are like that, and that's because, you know, Radharani literally she came later. But anyways, she knows that Govinda Dev is her beloved, and yeah, that's their transcendental pastime. So, but so then now we have several Radha and Krishna deities in Vrindavan. But what happened later is that there was this king of India who was actually, he was a Mohammedan, and his name was Aurangzeb, and he was very envious of the Hindus, and he went on a mission to like destroy major Hindu temples in India, all over India. And so he sent his men to Vrindavan, and they succeeded in dismantling or desecrating many of the Vrindavan temples. So, you know, that beautiful 7-story temple built by Rupa Goswami, they couldn't tolerate that it was taller than the mosque that was nearby. And so they knocked off the 4 top stories. And so now that temple is has only 3 stories. But I mean, still, it's like monumental. You know, you can. I guess there were no pictures of. I've never seen a picture of all 7 stories. But this is just like less than half of the temple here. And when you go in, it's huge. It's like massive. And not only did they knock off the top 4 floors, but they also went inside, and there are these beautiful carvings. You know, along the walls, there are carvings of Krishna's pastimes that were actually sculpted into the sandstone walls, and they're so beautiful, like bas relief, but sculpted right into the walls. And the faces are smashed off a lot of those. So they went inside the temple and they broke a lot of things. And because of that, then the temple can't be. They don't actually worship the deity in the temple anymore. They consider that it's contaminated and the temple can't be used anymore, even though it was built by Rupa Goswami. So it's very unfortunate. But the Radha Govindaji deities that were there, the devotees, they could understand that these attackers were coming, and they took the deities out of the temple and they transferred them over to Jaipur, because Jaipur at the time was ruled by a king who was a pure devotee. He was a Vaishnav king, very advanced Vaishnav king, and he offered to, I was going to say, give shelter to the deities, but the deities are the shelter of everyone. But he offered to, receive the deities in his kingdom and to serve them and take care of them there. So now Radha Govinda Dev are still in Jaipur, and that's why we're going all the way over to Jaipur, is just to see them. And there's the other deities, Radha Gopinath. They were similarly established by one of the 6 Goswamis, and same thing. They were taken at the same time over to Jaipur. So we'll see them also in Jaipur. So, yeah. But even so, even after, by that time, Vrindavan, life in Vrindavan had, the worship of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan had revived to such an extent that even despite the attacks of Aurangzeb, there's still many Vaishnavas living in Vrindavan at that time. So that was like still hundreds of years ago. But then, so Vrindavan was like basically back on the map. The pastime places were established. There were monuments and shrines and temples, and it was all happening. But then even after that, just due to the influence of Kali Yuga, the younger generations lost interest in spiritual life, and they became more interested in economic advancement moving to the cities and getting jobs and, working in factories and starting businesses and things. So Vrindavan became mainly like a place for poor old babas and, retired people and widows, undernourished cows and stray dogs and like that. So, even at the time when Srila Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan, it was like that. It was, Vrindavan was just like, it was again becoming a little bit of a ghost town. Nobody was really going to Vrindavan. And it was only when Srila Prabhupada left Vrindavan and traveled all over the world and established ISKCON and, printed his books, that glorify Vrindavan. Like all throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, we see the glories of Vrindavan, like especially in books like Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, there's all the Vrindavan Leela. But specifically, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion, they glorify Vrindavan, and they established like one of the 5 potent items of devotional services, Mathura Vas, is residence in Vrindavan, and that, all the places, Govardhan, and, that Vrindavan Dham is superior to Vaikuntha in the spiritual world, and superior to that is Govardhan, and superior to that is Radhakund, and like that. So he really attracted the world to Vrindavan. And also so many of Prabhupada's disciples and grand disciples started coming to Vrindavan and bringing with them, money and and wanting to buy deities and deity clothes and devotional clothes and tilak and arti paraphernalia. And Vrindavan started booming again. You can see there's just nothing. You're going to see when we go to Vrindavan, you're going to see it's like very different from what we see there. And you'll be wishing it was a little more like that picture. But it's so built up now. And it's because of Prabhupada. Prabhupada like breathed life back into Vrindavan. Dinabandhu Prabhu talks about how when he first came to Vrindavan, they would go to the temples, and the deities were just like, there were no fresh flowers. They were just wearing these like, pom-pom garlands or something, and the cloth, the deities, they didn't have nice clothes. It was like, if you touch them, they just, fall apart or something. And things were dusty and dirty. And it was just some old Baba who could barely function, taking care of the deities and little money and that. But when Srila Prabhupada when Srila Prabhupada built Krishna Balaram Mandir, and the devotees started coming, devotees from all over the world started coming, and then people started coming to see the Western devotees in Vrindavan, and more Indian devotees started joining and distributing Prabhupada's books all over India. And then Indians started understanding the importance of Vrindavan from reading Prabhupada's books, and Vrindavan became like, it started just booming, and now Vrindavan is like, it's just like, it's like thriving beyond its means to accommodate it. It's like a little too much, you'll see. But it's nice, it's also, it's like what we say, it's a good problem that too many people are wanting to go to Vrindavan and live in Vrindavan and serve in Vrindavan. So yeah, people are really investing in Vrindavan and building houses and opening businesses and moving their families and like that. So yeah, when Srila Prabhupada when he was given that land for Krishna Balaram Mandir, it was in the middle of nowhere. There was literally nothing there. It was just jungle. And to the extent that, people didn't even go there. Nobody went to that area. It was hard to get to because there were no rickshaws. There were no public transportation went there because there was no reason to go there. And the devotees at the time were worried. They were like, Prabhupada, like, shouldn't we build our temple, our nice ISKCON temple, like actually closer to where the Goswami temples are? Because that's where everyone goes. Like, nobody's going to come here. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's complete like boondocks. And Srila Prabhupada said, don't worry. If Krishna is here, people will come. So Prabhupada had the vision, and now Krishna Balaram Mandir is like, it's like the epicenter of Vrindavan. It's like the new center of Vrindavan. It's very full of life, and the temple's always full of people. And yeah, it's pretty insane actually. So so that brings us up to the present day. from Krishna's appearance and Vrindavan's kind of fading away to being revived by Vajranabha, Krishna's great grandson, to again fading away due to the influence of time, to being revived by Madhavendra Puri and Advaita Acharya and the Six Goswamis, to again kind of fading away by the influence of time, and also due to the Aurangzeb and his, antagonistic people, and then being revived by Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, it's just nice. I felt like it's nice to understand, who are the key players here in Vrindavan being what it is today, and how, we hear also, you'll read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, nobody knew where Radhakund was. It just nobody knew at all. Lord Chaitanya he went there, he's like, where's Radhakund, where's Shamakund? And he was asking around and nobody even heard of them. And then one day he was just wandering and he saw in the middle of this rice paddy there was some like a mud puddle, like a swampy area, and he all of a sudden understood that was Radhakund, and he just ran. He was with a group of devotees, and he just darted over there and started splashing and rolling and splashing the water on him. And they were like, what's going on? He said, this is Radhakund. Come put water on your heads. And they all went there. And then he ordered Raghunath Das Goswami to excavate that area, to negotiate with the farmer to acquire that land, to dig it out and dig down to the spring, which was the source of Radhakund, and another one for Shamakund, and to make nice ghats, bathing areas, and like that. So yeah, so it just shows how the influence of time, in this world, that it causes that everything to become lost. We were reading that recently in Bhagavad Gita, how the supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and the knowledge as it is appears to be lost. So the knowledge was lost, the disciplic succession the connection to Krishna was lost, the dham was lost, the deities are lost, the temples are lost. So due to the influence of time, everything becomes lost. And so it takes powerful Vaishnavas to reestablish things, to revive things. And you can say also that, Srila Prabhupada established temples with ashrams, exploding with enthusiastic young Western devotees. And in due course of time, that was lost. And so, Krishna House, that's what we're trying to do, is to revive these things and bring back the booming days of, a thriving Western movement here for the glory of Srila Prabhupada. So, and it takes powerful Vaishnavas making big sacrifices, and a team, like Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbhas Goswami, they teamed up and they started it, and then Six Goswamis joined them, and they made their contributions. So, it shows how devotees with a mission form teams, and they go there with determined effort, they work hard, make sacrifices, and how it's all blessed by Krishna. How Krishna, he kept appearing, as that small cowherd boy, small village boy, coming and giving them hints, do like this, go here, dig there, do this. And in that way, everything became reestablished exactly the way Krishna wanted it. So I will stop there and open it up for any questions or comments or reflections on the history of Vrindavan. What are your any thoughts on these points?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You were saying how we cannot walk on Govardhan, and so we cannot go to that temple of the deity Gopal.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people going when I was on parikrama. So is it like something that was told by Prabhupada or something like that?
Yeah, we don't go because Lord Chaitanya, he instructed that Vaishnavas shouldn't step on Govardhan Hill. So we're following we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, means that we're following in the line of Lord Chaitanya. So those Vaishnavas that do go to the Gopal temple on the top, they're not Gaudiya Vaishnavas. They're, another other sampradayas. Maybe they're Sri Vaishnavas or Madhva, followers of Madhva, like that, in one of the other sampradayas. So yeah, Lord Chaitanya literally, he instructed, don't step on Govardhan Hill. And he himself, when he went there, he didn't want to step on Govardhan Hill, but he had a burning desire to have darshan of the Gopal deity, because he had heard the story, and his Param Guru Madhavendra Puri discovered this deity and established, and he had heard all those stories. So when he went to Vrindavan, he went to Govardhan Hill. And by Krishna's arrangement, because not only did Lord Chaitanya want to see Gopal, but Gopal wanted to see Lord Chaitanya. So he arranged for this false rumor to be spread that some, Muslims were attacking, and the deity, they were planning to attack the Gopal Mandir on top of the hill, and that the pujari should bring the deity down and keep him in a cottage at the bottom of Govardhan at one place. And so when Lord Chaitanya was doing Govardhan Parikram, then the Gopal deity was there. I think he was in someone's house, and Lord Chaitanya came to know that the deity was there, and so he could see Gopal. And then as soon as Lord Chaitanya finished his Parikram, then someone came and said, oh, that was a false alarm. There's no attack. You can put the deity back. So I can't promise that will happen to us, but it just depends on how badly Gopal wants to see us.
One point that was really nice for me to hear was about Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami going to Vrindavan. I hadn't heard that before, kind of the original history. And I understand why I didn't hear it before, because they didn't want me to hear out of their humility. But I thought it was really impactful hearing about their sacrifice of going there and calling out for the holy places. And that's a common theme we see, is this calling out in Vrindavan. Like the Six Goswamis in the Goswami Astakam, Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Ke Chalalite, Hey Nandasuna Puta. So they would be calling out for Govardhan. Where are you, Radharani? Where are you, Krishna? Where's Govardhan? Where? So it's that mood of separation, that mood of longing to see Vrindavan as it is. So it's instructive for us also to go there with that mood of calling out. We might be a little bewildered seeing the modern development of Vrindavan, and we can call out, where are you, Vrindavan? Please allow me to see you as you are.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that, because I've been sharing all these quotes, about in the group about the glories of Vrindavan, and then it's describing Vrindavan Dham in certain ways, and when we go there, it's going to look a lot different. So yeah, that's something that we can really petition the Lord for, is to help us to get a glimpse of the real Vrindavan beneath the Maya covering. Because it's said that the Dham is covered by a veneer, like a curtain of Maya, so that unqualified people or atheists don't take it cheaply. And so it's very difficult to actually access the real Vrindavan, although it's there, but it's hidden. And so we can pray, to Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, and to the Lord himself, Lord Chaitanya, our gurus, to give us a tiny little glimpse, at least some little glimpse or some taste, of Vrindavan. Even if we get a tiny little drop of a taste for the experience of being in the real Vrindavan, it will be enough to like carry us through the rest of our sojourn in the material world and right back to the lotus feet of Krishna. So if we can even just get a little drop. And, you know, it's nice to pray to Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada, he gave us Vrindavan. If it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada, we wouldn't know, the word Vrindavan would not be in our vocabulary, you know, we wouldn't know that Vrindavan existed. And Srila Prabhupada, he was so concerned to bring us to Vrindavan. And that's why he built the Krishna Balaram Mandir. And next to it, he built this huge Krishna Balaram guest house. And he insisted that the Krishna Balaram guest house be built to a high standard. And it was the first building in Vrindavan with like hot and cold running water. And the people were actually criticizing Prabhupada for building like such. He's like, what is this? You know, enjoying comforts and luxuries. Vrindavan's not the place for living comfortably and luxuriously. This is a place for renunciants. You know, what are you building this like hotel, you know, comfort hotel, luxury hotel in Vrindavan for? And Prabhupada said, yeah, because my American and European disciples are accustomed to a certain standard of living, and it'll be very difficult for them to live the way you do. And so I want them to be comfortable. I want them to feel like, you know, to feel at home in Vrindavan, so that they'll come here. I really want them to come here and spend some time here and be happy here. So yeah, Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted us to go to Vrindavan, and he wanted us to experience Vrindavan. When he was here, he would take his disciples around Vrindavan, and so we can pray to him that Srila Prabhupada, you gave us Vrindavan, you want us to experience Vrindavan. Please, you know, be merciful to me and reveal Vrindavan Dham to me, at least a little bit, you know, let me understand the potency of this place. And we can experience that in different ways. Like we may not see, you know, like jeweled pillars, and, you know, we may not see, you know, Krishna wandering through bushes or something. We probably won't see those things. In fact, like unless, you know, we're, you know, extremely exalted souls, we're not going to see those things. But there's ways that we can feel Krishna's presence in Vrindavan, and ways that we can experience the potency of Vrindavan is, you know, by going deeper into our japa in Vrindavan, by feeling like uplifted in special ways through the sangha, through our sangha, through our kirtans, to katha, by listening to, you know, advanced devotees speaking about Vrindavan, speaking about, you know, the process of bhakti in Vrindavan. And, you know, if you're very sincere, you'll feel that there's a difference. You know, there's a difference to practicing bhakti in Vrindavan and compared to other places. There's something special. Of course, you know, Prabhupada established also these temples, which are non-different from Vrindavan, but still there's something special about the original dhams from which the other dhams have expanded. And, you know, we can experience that. And we can carry that back with us and inspire others, hopefully. Anything else?
One quick thing is that we're starting our yatra in Govardhan, which is a lot more mellow. It's a lot more rural and slow paced, natural. So it's a lot easier for me to connect there. And many of my memories of being in Vrindavan are sitting at the foot of Govardhan, or walking through the beautiful soft dust and the beautiful flowering trees, or going around Govardhan on parikrama. So it's good that we're starting there. We get, what, 10 days, I think, before we go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's nice to just kind of like be, when we get to Govardhan, don't be too eager to go out and about and go here and there and get rickshaws and see. just try to like stay there. Just try to be kind of like stationary and just get yourself rooted in the place there at Govardhan, and just be there. You know, bring whatever you need to keep yourself, you know, to all your basic needs met for those first 10 days in terms of, you know, supplies, toiletries, whatever, you know, whatever you need, because it will be difficult to get certain items, you know, locally. You'll have to like get on a rickshaw and go somewhere. But I really want you to sort of like get that foundational experience at Govardhan and really settle into the place and be at peace and absorb and just kind of like be like a sponge there, you know. Rather, don't be restless, just try to settle in to our retreat. And Bhuijan Prabhu, he's a very he's a Prabhupada disciple and very advanced pure devotee. I would say with confidence that he's a pure devotee, and he's going to be the first person that we will be interacting with there in terms of classes and orientation and experiencing Vrindavan. So he's really going to start our journey for us, and it's going to be wonderful. And then after that, we'll go straight into the Govardhan retreat with Sachinandan Swami, and Bhuijan Prabhu will also be doing classes for that, along with his wife, Mother Jagatarini, and maybe others. So there'll be a lot of opportunity to really like connect internally with the dham before we go out and start engaging with it externally in a bigger way. So I think with that internal foundation, that will assure that we can have that our external experience will be very nourishing and deep. It won't just be a superficial like sightseeing, you know, because we do want to see places of Krishna's pastimes and see deities and see temples, but we don't want to go like tourists. We want to go like Vaishnavas. We want to go like, you know, devotees who are wanting to have an experience of bhakti in the dham. Okay. Yeah, there's some pilgrims doing Govardhan Parikrama, which we'll get the chance to do. Anyone you know there, Brihat?
Nope. Google image.
Okay. I didn't know if it was the picture you had taken or something. Yeah, unfortunately, the area right around Govardhan, the government has identified as like a, you know, an area of national significance. So it's protected. So Govardhan still, this picture that you see, this is what it looks like. And this is what we will experience, is still like this. Thank to Krishna for inspiring the Indian government to understand the importance of this place.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for this class, Prabhupada Priya. I hope others here are equally enthused to go to Vrindavan so we can spend the next 8 weeks fueling our fire to enter Vrindavan Dham. You can't buy a plane ticket there, so we have to beg Krishna to reveal it to us.
Yeah.
Maybe should we officially close off if anyone needs to go, and we can address any other comments and questions?
Yeah, actually, I need to, Nanda Braj and I both have a meeting that starts like 1 minute ago.
So Draupadi, how about you send your question in our Sangha chat? Is that okay? Or if it's
it wasn't a question, just, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Oh, good. Oh, she's raising her hand like, Haribol. Okay, cool. All right, thank you all for coming, and look forward to having more sessions with all of you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Guru Premanandi.
Haribol. Thanks, Prabhupada Priya.